back, everybody. It is the Working Brother back at you with another talk. Drago Bosnic back for the Not So Weekly News Roundup. Drago, good to have you back. How you doing?
Great being here as always, man.
Excellent. We hear you loud and clear on this end, and we've got a hell of a show lined up today. For everybody who missed it, we had like I don't know what to call it. Two guest show last time. So if you see any differences in camera angles, lighting, and sound, that is why. I had to reset everything here in studio. Also, everybody who's new here, this is a comedy show. Nothing we say here has anything to do with reality. Drago, you've got a rather serious article for us to start off this talk. Political West blocks Russia's UN discussion about NATO aggression on Serbia. Dun, dun. No, seriously, tell us what this is about.
Yeah, well, the Russians have tried to start a discussion about the NATO aggression on Serbia, at the time known as the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. And of course, NATO was not very, keen on talking about its, endless stream of war crimes starting, 5 years ago. And there's been a lot of, freedom and democracy spread around the world in the meantime. So I guess they expect that if we start, unpacking all of that, it's going to be a bit of a problem for them, especially for their reputation of a humanitarian interventionist.
You mean like the freedom and democracy that Iraq got, and like Syria is trying to get really hard, Libya, freedom and democracy.
All the freedom and democracy you can get, and the kind that people really, really like.
It's how many years since the NATO bombing of Yugoslavia?
25. It's been a quarter of a century.
The round number. I remember it like it was yesterday. I used to watch it on TV. I wasn't here during it, so like I'm not...
Yeah, I watched it live. I remember all the freedom and democracy falling from the sky. Loved it.
I just remember the discrepancies between the NATO freedom and democracy press briefings and then the like reality at the end of the day when all the Serbian armor left. On that note, did we do the meme or the video first? Let's
yeah.
Let's do it.
When you mentioned the armor and everything, the Serbian army managed to pull out of Kosovo. The interesting thing is, it's very similar to how the AFU and the Kiev regime are saying, when they are destroying Russian equipment, it's a very similar ratio of destroyed equipment. Like in reality, it's like 10 times less. So we see a lot of consistency in that regard.
Yeah, consistency. We've got a lot of National Meme Coordination Body memes today. How many times are we going to say meme in this episode? This episode is a meme drinking game. Every time I say meme, you drink. We don't promote drinking. Also, you want to translate this, or should I? Mr. General, how is the campaign progressing? Did we break the will or the spirit of the Serbs? Are they in panic? Are they afraid? Mr. President, the Serbs have gone out to the streets, bridges, and the squares. They're dancing, they're singing, and they want to tell you to suck on it. Basically.
Yeah, that's literally what we actually did. When the bombing was happening, we literally got out in the streets, and we didn't give a damn about the bombs. It's pretty crazy, I guess they broke our will, right?
Yeah, what can I say? The Serbian back has been broken for a long time. No, seriously speaking, we've got other articles to get to. We've got things that are worth discussing that are not memes. Hold on, let me just open. Oh no. everybody who's new here, we're sorry. One-man show. If you want to get me an assistant, you can buy me a coffee, and then maybe I'll get an assistant. A link in the description, and also Patreon. So, moving on to Drago's next article. What are U.S. Green Berets doing less than 10 kilometers away from mainland China's coast? What?
Yep. Yeah.
Tell us more.
Mean, a lot of people don't know that the border, or let's call it an administrative line between the mainland China and Taiwan, is actually much closer to China's coast because Taiwan controls all these like small islands, which are very, very close to the mainland China. And the Green Berets deployed there to, I guess, protect, China from China. So as it goes,
How many Green Berets are we talking about? Like 10? Or like 12?
No, I think there is up to 700 as far as I'm not sure about the numbers because they haven't disclosed them. But last year there were around 700 of them deployed on rotation in Taiwan. So I guess at least let's say 500, maybe 500. Maybe not all of them were on these small islands, but let's say even if it's 50, like what are they doing there? I mean, what do they think they will protect? From a country with 1.5 billion people and one of the largest armies in the world. So, it's all about provoking everyone, I guess, to
Those are like the little islands that are next to mainland China that like China constantly fires those like huge missile barrages over, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty some stuff.
So Green Berets are very like good. Green Berets must be like really trained at like intercepting missiles, right?
Yeah, I was literally saying that like Green Berets are very good at intercepting missiles with their bodies, just like the SBU is great intercepting Russian Zircon missiles with their buildings. So it's pretty similar.
We'll get to the Zircon later, but considering you mentioned, actually let's see what the next article is. So what I'm shocked by these news. Like I just don't know what to say. It's good this is a comedy show. Baltic Sea and NATO Lake. Russian electronic warfare would like a word.
Yeah.
Go on.
It's about, let's say, a USAF or United States Air Force MQ-9 Reaper, which was there to protect liberty and freedom, and it was flying, in northern Poland, presumably spying on the Russians in the Kaliningrad region. And then the Russians decided to send their regards via Akrasuka, I guess, although it could have been any other electronic warfare system. And then the Reaper, decided to land a little bit harsher than it, and it's supposed to. So I suppose they've picked up the pieces so far. Maybe they will repair it. Who knows? I mean, it's a Reaper, so it could be repaired, I guess.
It's repairable. Yeah. That's hilarious. Buy me a coffee for this comedy that you're getting here exclusively with Drago and me. Drago and I met up the other day. We actually went to like this, what was it? Ministry of Defense organized thing that they were talking about, like the 25-year anniversary of the bombing of Serbia. Do you want to say, do you want to like point out to the people some things that you might have seen there or like, listened to or interesting?
Yeah, we've had very interesting guests from around the world. And people would probably be, shocked to learn that a lot of people from the Western countries, especially from Canada, the United States, even England, are actually coming to Serbia, to commemorate this event, because like that was one of the triggers, the bombing of Serbia, the aggression on Serbia essentially was one of the triggers of the destruction of whatever was left of the international law. And ever since, the world has been, simply going towards chaos of, let's say, global proportions. So I think, everyone realizes now, looking back, realizes the importance of the event and how it actually opened the Pandora's box of what we're seeing today.
So you're telling me hindsight is 2020, and you're also telling me that there was Westerners there in Serbia?
Yeah. There were a lot of Russians and the Chinese and
I was just gonna say,
people
were
from
there any
around the world.
Russians or Chinese? Because the Chinese embassy got bombed, and like it's not like
Yeah,
the
sure.
Russians were not involved.
There were actually several Russian and Chinese generals present. Some of them retired, some of them actually active. So, it's interesting. And I think it shows you how much of an importance there is for this event in the multipolar world. This is something that was essentially one of the catalysts for the multipolar world, essentially.
Well, when you put it that way, yeah, I actually never thought about it that way. But like you're saying now, in hindsight, if you had to, take the dominoes back to see which one fell first, it's
Yeah.
highly likely that is where it started. Um, shall we continue with the Serbian memes? Let's continue with the Serbian 25th anniversary memes. This one is from Stay Serbian. They're on Instagram and Telegram, I think, maybe not on Telegram, but on the way to Serbia and in Serbia. So yeah, we shot a F-117 down. Woohoo! Apparently,
Actually,
we
not
shot
just
down
one.
2 or 3. Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, they've admitted to at least two or three so far. And I've talked to some Serbian commanders who are claiming there's been more of various other aircraft. Although, if I say which one, they will probably, get us a warning or of some kind because we're spreading misinformation, as they say.
This is a comedy show, man. Anything
Yeah,
you say is a joke and cannot be used against you,
right.
or something like that.
Let's hope I don't hear any drones buzzing over my head now.
That should be another merch shirt. People, leave a comment. Do you want merch that says anything you say is a joke and cannot be used against you?
As the Reaper comes crashing down on my head. So let's see.
All right, let's get back to news. We've got the French. In case of either tactical or strategic clashes with the French, would lose both.
Yeah.
Um, didn't you discuss at one of our recent talks that the French have
Yeah.
like enough army to have like a 30 or 60 kilometer front or something like that? Tell us more.
Yeah, I mentioned that too, but it seems that the French decided to double down on the possibility of a conflict with Russia. So one of their colonels mentioned, a nuclear. He said non-conventional, which non-conventional is essentially nuclear. That there's no other way to define it. He talked about a non-conventional war with Russia. So a non-conventional war means a nuclear war, and it's kind of funny that a country with
Time
290
out, time out, time
nuclear
out, time out, time out, time out. Do you mean like can't a proxy war be not a conventional war? Isn't France
Yeah,
already in
but he
an
was talking about direct clashes. Like he wasn't talking about like some sort of a proxy war, which is already happening. It's already happening. We're talking about direct clash between French and Russian forces. So a direct non-conventional clash means nukes. And I mean the rest of his talk essentially implied that. So what I did is I debunked their idea that they could win this against Russia because France has 290 nuclear bombs. Nuclear warheads, and Russia has 6,000.
That's just
not a
what I was
very
gonna
good
say. Like
idea.
how many nukes do the French have?
Yeah, they have only like 20 times less. It's nothing. Like it's a small difference, I guess. But jokes aside, they do have missiles that could reach Russia. But the point is, they could do damage to Russia, but only a single Russian missile, specifically the Sarmat, can wipe out France. And the Russians have 50. We'll have 50 of them when the modernization is over. So, why would you want to go to war with a country like that? Isn't that a little bit insane, and suicidal, I guess?
Wait, time out. So you're saying that the Russians have one missile that on
Yeah.
I know this already for viewers, like I'm playing dumb here.
Right.
They have one missile that has how many warheads on it?
24.
25? 24. So a
Yeah.
round number. Um
Right.
and
The
and
average the average yield is about 450 kilotons, which is around 23 to 25 times more powerful than the
Hiroshima.
Hiroshima bomb. So like that's 23, 25 times 24. So, do the math, see how much destruction that thing can, deliver. So I guess, it would be a very good idea to talk to a guy who has that thing instead of, fighting a non-conventional war with him.
Considering we're talking about non-conventional weapons, this is news. This is not a meme, but it's basically a meme because we're living in like meme reality.
Strange times.
Mr. Blinken visited for a conference on advancing democracy in Southern Korea. So this Kim, because there's two Kims. There's this Kim and the hacker Kim. So the Korean Kim launches a couple of ballistic tests. What do you have to say about Crazy Kim?
I just want to say that this guy has made tremendous strides in, making his country safer because, back in 2017, the Americans were talking about bombing North Korea, and now they're talking about parity, with them in hypersonic missiles. So it's interesting, because they actually got, they keep saying North Korea is this, piss poor country that, has no technologies, that is, underdeveloped, that lives in the 50s and so on and so on. But North Korea actually has, operational hypersonic missiles, unlike the United States. So, the United States has to play catch up, not with Russia and China. They're far, far ahead. We're talking about Iran and, North Korea, which both deployed or are about to deploy hypersonic weapons. So, Kim has done, great. He did a great job for his country. We can say whatever we want about his country, but the point is his country can destroy, a dozen large cities in the United States in the case that there's a nuclear exchange, which makes it the smallest superpower in the world, I guess.
The smallest superpower in the world. I like that. So if you hear the smallest superpower in the world said by anybody in the future, know that it was coined by Drago here.
Sure.
Now, let's get back to memes.
I'm honored.
Let's get back to memes. Also from National Meme Coordination Body of Serbia, Serbs, when their bridges are destroyed. If this bridge is destroyed, we'll make a new one in 3 hours. America, when a bridge gets destroyed, because everybody's heard about that bridge in Baltimore. Collapse of the system. Now, for those who don't know, this is the funny part. This first part is actually from a video from way back 25 years ago, right?
Yep.
I wonder if we can find this guy. You think we could find this guy?
He actually died, I think in 2016 or 2017. I'm not really sure. But the best part is I actually watched this live on TV, when it was happening. So, and I remember it. So it's interesting. I was only 8, but I do remember it.
Amazing. There's subtitles. This is hilarious.
Nama od dragocenosti. Tu imamo njive, bašte, razumete, koji spaja Majuri koloniju Đurđe Brdo. Najbolje selo na svetu. Okay, so fake news, there's no subtitles. And basically, he's saying this is a bridge that joins these two little villages across this hill and near this... I wouldn't even call it a river. It's a stream, basically. They're not giving up the bridges. Čuva se ovaj most. To je seljački most napravljen od prirodne ruke, prirodno drvo.
This is a farmer's bridge. It's built out of natural stuff and it's naturally made.
Sve prirodno. Priroda čuva I svi nas čuva priroda.
And nature is taking care of all of us.
Jedan sam preživao poslovni, drugi od žene, sad preživljavam treći.
I survived 2 wars, one from work and one from my wife, and now I'm surviving the third.
Puta ženio. To nanosi 6. puta kad se završi rat.
I married 5 times. I'm hoping for a 6th after this war.
Nije to tako loše kao što izgleda.
This is from a Serbian movie. Where's the rest of it? What does it say?
Poruke ima gore, ali Clinton nema šanse. Nema Clintone, ti si broj 1 po Suntavilu.
Clinton, you have no chance. You're number 1 in. I can't translate. Yeah, you think it's
That's a rough translation.
Clinton je broj 1 po Suntavilu.
Only Serbs will know the meaning of that.
So yeah, referring back to the other meme from earlier, this is the Serbian spirit that was destroyed during the NATO bombing.
By the way, just to give people a perspective, they dropped 15 times more bombs in Serbia in those 2 months than on ISIS in all years of its existence, which tells you pretty much you need to know about, the relationship between ISIS and the U.S. So.
There's a lot of those infographics with the amount of tonnage that was dropped on then Yugoslavia, as you said, Serbia geographically now.
Yep.
Comparing it to what was dropped in Iraq over like 10 years or something like that, or 2 years in Iraq and like 10 years in Afghanistan, and like the numbers are astronomically out of whack. So the point of that,
just to also give you a perspective, like how destructive the bombing was for us, and we still held. We still we were still going to bridges and these squares and everywhere else to essentially just prevent the damage to those bridges. And the interesting thing is, the bombing of Yugoslavia or Serbia at the time was actually the largest air campaign, as they say. Air campaign in Europe to this day. So even the Russians during the SMO have actually launched less air attacks in these last few years than what the US did with thousands of its own jets and bombers on Serbia, which is 7 to 10 times smaller than Ukraine, depending how you see the Ukrainian borders. So there you go.
The point is, it's funny when you talk about the tonnage dropped on Serbia and the effect it had, and the people and the reaction, and how over the years, basically, you say the biggest air campaign, but back then 25 years ago, now it's biggest air campaign, you have this idea of something going on, but look into it, because I think it was 700-800 planes that were flying up above Serbia or Yugoslavia at the time.
Nearly 1,000. There were a lot more planes which were used to provide intelligence support and guidance and stuff, and let's say logistics and stuff like that, aerial refueling. So altogether, there were at least 600 to 800, depends on what your sources are, of combat jets that were being used to drop bombs on Serbia. And on top of that, we had a bunch of cruise missiles fired at us too, especially the Tomahawk cruise missiles by the UK and the US. So it was an all-encompassing campaign to, bombing, essentially, aggression, if we're being precise, on a small country that didn't really attack a single NATO member.
Forget NATO member, it didn't attack anyone, as in it was dealing with internal problems. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Insurgency on our own territory, essentially. So.
Yeah, the same territory that is being used now to train those friendly Mujahideen Arab terrorists that go to bring freedom and democracy to Syria.
Right.
Let's get back to this clip, because we didn't get to the point of the clip. At the end of the clip, he says, not this guy, the next guy.
Ako ovaj most bude, pošto sam ja organizator ovog skupa, ako ovaj most bude srušen.
If this bridge, because I'm the organizer of this event, if this bridge is destroyed,
mi ćemo da ga napravimo za 3 sata.
we'll build it again in about 3 hours.
That's
So
telling you about the
yes,
Serbian spirit.
basically. Um, I'm gonna surprise you with, or actually no, we'll get into that later when we get into your article about who done it. Let's see here. Where did we get to? I think we got to the French one, and then after that, oh, right on time. Who is behind the Crocus City Hall terrorist attack? First of all, condolences to the victims, blah blah, and all that. And may they rest in peace, and all that good stuff that Medvedev said about those responsible. We don't have the quote, but he said a lot of things.
Which
Who's
I agree
behind
with
it?
wholeheartedly, especially the part about dealing with the guys who did it.
Yeah.
So,
Tell us a bit more about what you wrote here, because it's a very serious topic. I was actually not too keen on discussing it, but with this perspective and like your approach to journalism, it can probably be discussed on this comedy channel in such a fashion that maybe we won't offend anyone. Tell us.
well, it's hard to not offend anyone, considering the fact that the parties involved are many, and they've shown no remorse for what they did, which, it's going to bring us to another topic that's connected to it and why this was done in the first place. First of all, I want to say that I understand completely, the dangers of Islamic radicalism. And I'm saying Islamic because it's not Muslim. Muslim and Islamic, obviously, in this case, are different. The Islamic radicalism is a very dangerous ideology that was implanted by Western powers, primarily the UK, and later the US, the modern iteration, but the UK before that, implanted in many Muslim countries, and it has radicalized a lot of Muslims, who think that this is a way to fight for Islam. Obviously, the vast majority of people reject it. However, there's enough of those who support it to provide a constant stream of recruits, which is what makes it dangerous, because it targets an entire group without them actually being like that, the vast majority of them. So why was this organized, and why did they choose Islamic radicals to conduct this? Well, because, as we all know, the Muslim world actually supports Russia wholeheartedly, or at least overwhelmingly. And also, Muslims in Russia themselves are actually in support of their country, and a lot of them are actually fighting in the SMO. So this was supposed to do two things. First, to essentially destroy this unity on a local level, and then number two, create a sort of tensions between Russia and Muslim countries if Russia were to conduct a crackdown on all Muslims because of this. Russia was smart enough not to do that, obviously. But they tried it, and of course, the only way to do it and to negate their own involvement, and I'm talking about the countries that organize this, and we all know who those are. They're not Muslim, by the way. If anyone is not sure what I'm talking about. Because I'm trying to not get you banned here.
One of them may have had a Muslim president. Muslim, who may have been African or Kenyan or from Hawaii, who knows?
Yeah, pretty much. But in all seriousness, why would a group of terrorists who are like Muslims would go to the to the Ukrainian border? If you're fleeing a country, especially if you're fleeing from Moscow and you want to leave the country before you get caught. Wouldn't you go to Finland or Estonia or Lithuania or all the Baltic countries or some other place, where you can actually, go? Why would you go to the Ukrainian border, which you can't even cross because there is a damn SMO, right?
So wait. You're telling me that whoever set this up made it so they got caught? No.
Right. So what did these guys, judging from the videos of them talking, I presume they're not Mensa members. So I guess, that's why it was easy to trick them into believing this. But still, does it take an IQ higher than the room temperature to understand that it's bad for you not to go to the Ukrainian border when there's fighting there. So how are you going to cross the border when there are two armies clashing, with each other on that same border? That's the part that I don't really get. And I guess the perpetrators didn't get it either. So that's why they are where they are.
I flashed this in the background while you're talking. This is one of the perps in the custody of the Russian Federation in the trial courtroom type thing. And
Right.
He has a wound on his ear. Do you want to tell people how that might have happened? He was running through the forest, right?
There was a banana peel while he was walking, and he fell down and unfortunately fell on the ground somehow and lost the ear. That's what I heard, and I believe that's what happened.
I don't know. There's this fake video of it's probably CGI or what's it called, AI, of some Russian cutting off his ear. I don't know how legit it is, but
yeah, I don't believe it's legit. However, I do believe in the humanity of Russians because they fed the guy because they were concerned about his well-being in that regard. So
if this video stays up, then if this video doesn't get my channel deleted, it'll be a miracle. Let's put it that way.
Right.
So in any case, we're just a comedy show here. You can support me on Patreon and buy me a coffee. Links in the description. But seriously speaking, that was not the only field interrogation that happened. The next day, another video surfaced, and I think I can't remember who it was, but some commentator somewhere said the only reason you're seeing these videos is because Putin wants you and everybody else to see these videos. Like, if you weren't meant to see these videos, they wouldn't have surfaced or been filmed in the first place. So the point is that another video surfaced, and this is also thanks to National Meme Coordination Body. Visegrad 24, which is, as we all know, reliable, eh? Reliable is the word. Looks like Russians have started torturing alleged Moscow attackers. Are those electric cables going to where it looks like they're going? Yes, but and we've got some pictures that we probably can't show on YouTube, but
actually,
they're all blurred out.
I've mentioned the Guantanamo spa center in Cuba, and I've mentioned the Abu Ghraib spa center as well. So it's interesting how the U.S. can talk about the difference in values, and I think his name is Steve Hall, if I'm not mistaken. There's a video of him saying that the torture of these terrorists, I mean, they are terrorists, who killed nearly 150 people and wounded over 180 others, they should be treated with dignity and respect, and that their lives are valuable, the lives that they took from 150 other people. So it's interesting how that works, because there are nearly 800 people, detained in Guantanamo without any charges, official charges, and they're being held.
800?
Yeah. Like, at any moment, there's been thousands that have gone through that prison, but at this point, there, as far as I know, there's 770 something. I could be wrong, for a few numbers up and down. So the thing is, they are doing this to other people around the world, and there were some that are released after 20 years, in prison without any charges and without any convictions. So if that guy wasn't really a terrorist before that, I wonder what he's going to become after spending 20 years with other terrorists, so and then on top of that being released in to other countries. So it's it's interesting how the US government sees this difference in values. I mean, I see the difference in values. The Russians are obviously on the good side here, so
that sounds like Russian propaganda. So we got Kim.com, the other Kim.
Former hacker. For those who don't know, that check out his movie. It's worth watching. Can't remember what it's called though. Sanctions didn't work. Billions in weapons didn't work. Unwavering support didn't work. Counteroffensive didn't work. Non-stop propaganda didn't work. Rules-based terrorism is all they have left. It won't work either. It just shows how evil and desperate they are. ISIS leaders consider Ukraine a safe house, and the SBU tolerates their presence. Ukraine, therefore, has the means to use ISIS as a cover for mercenary terrorist attacks. A top ISIS commander lived in Ukraine for 2 years until the U.S. demanded his arrest. Dun, dun. So even Kim.com. Whoa, what is going on here? Why does this keep happening? Mouse is acting up. Anyway. So yeah. Even Kim.com knows what's going on.
Yep, pretty much.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, there's one more article where I went a bit in depth why they did it, which I'm going to explain when we get to it.
Oh, okay, so we've got that lined up. Hold on. Let me see here. This one. And would that be this article?
Yeah, that's precisely the one. Well, I mentioned, that one of the goals is to get sort of divisions within Russia, and to rile up the Muslim population and the Russian population, essentially pit them against each other. And of course, the geopolitical, segment of that is, to essentially diminish support for Russia in the Muslim world, which is, as I said, pretty huge at this point. However, there's another reason, which, this is one of the logical things that I thought about. Why would they do this? Like, why would they conduct such an attack? What is the end game except the things I already mentioned about Muslims? Well, the point is that their coverage of all this, like their cover up of all this, is very sloppy. So why would you do something like this and then, make the sloppiest moves to cover it up? Well, obviously you want to make sure that the Russians get the message who did this, and the Russians did get it. But what's the point of that, right? Well, the point is for the Russians to get so angry to attack NATO. And NATO has been testing this, for the last 2 years. And recently, the latest example of that is sending Macron, to threaten a direct intervention to see if that's going to get, the Europeans on board. And that failed, obviously, because most Europeans said, sure, you can go fight Russia if you want to, but don't count us in. And now NATO realizes it cannot go on the offensive directly and fight Russia unless Russia attacks. So the thing is, they want to provoke Russia's reaction to attack the entire NATO, or at least like those NATO bases close to Russia. And then they can, fake a defensive war and say, well, you see, we didn't want to, but Russia attacked us. So let's go, together, let's move in and defeat Russia. That's essentially what they're trying to do. With such attacks, which is why they announced more of such attacks, because this one obviously didn't provoke Russia. So it's, the Russians will have to raise their, security levels to the highest standard, which of course is not easy to do and it's very expensive. Because, we might see more of such attacks. God forbid, I wouldn't want to see it, obviously. The last thing in the world, would be that. But for me, I think the Russians would have to be very, very careful because, the warmongers in Brussels and Washington, D.C. are, they're just insane people. I don't know how else to describe it. They've demonstrated repeatedly that they're insane. And this is just the latest example of it.
Regarding this Crocus thing, I hate that it's called Crocus. But
yeah.
Like whatever it's called, this massacre thing that happened in Russia. And the whole Muslim jihadi, or as you said, Islamist, or how did you make the difference?
Yeah, Islamic radicals, essentially.
Islamic versus Muslim, yeah. So the point is, the parallel just occurred to me that like this is basically like another part of the same playbook that they used against Serbia / Yugoslavia / breaking up of Yugoslavia / jihadists / Kosovo. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like a very, very useful tool. And Hillary Clinton has been filmed saying, literally saying we helped build the problem that we're trying to fight. Those are her exact words when she said that essentially they formed,
she was talking about Afghanistan, yeah.
Yeah, Afghanistan specifically, but she's also talking about, she actually essentially admitted that this is now a global problem that was created to fight the Soviet Union, but it went out of hand. Of course, she's going to say it went out of hand. I think it was fanned up, purposefully to be used as an excuse, to increase military spending, to destabilize countries, to fan up hatred and divisions that, because, it's the oldest rule in the book of any empire, divide and conquer. And this is exactly what they're doing, by fanning up and creating this threat. I'm not going to call it imaginary because obviously it's not imaginary. A lot of people have died because of it. But the thing is, you just have to think about for a second, in what way are these extremist movements being used? So let's say they will support fans of nuts in Ukraine who are like these white supremacist guys who are doing what? Killing white people in Donbass, or fighting a white country, predominantly white country like Russia. And what are
they're
these
not
Islamic?
White, man. They're not white. You
Right.
obviously missed the last episode with Hawking and the Soviet Russian Bear, where we found out that Soviet Russian Bear is basically Xi Jinping with white with blonde hair. They're not white. No, seriously speaking, they're about as white as the Ukrainians, as white as I am or as white as you are. Not as white as English people. But
Right.
nobody really wants to be that
just
white.
To just add this one more thing. So, as I said, these white supremacists are killing other whites, and these extreme Muslims, essentially Islamists, are killing whom exactly? Well, Muslims. They've killed hundreds of thousands of people in Syria, in Iraq, in Afghanistan. Now the Taliban are fighting ISIS-K. Can you imagine this? It's so insane that you would think about it. So even the Taliban look good in comparison to the damn U.S. and NATO.
The Taliban are the good guys, man. As soon as
Yeah.
the Americans pulled out and the Taliban took over Twitter with their Taliban Twitter team, it became clear that Talibanis are the good guys. They always were. We support women's rights here, though. In any case. Under more liberal interpretations of Sharia law. Let's get back to some memes. Before we get this episode in channel banned. Anyway, the first Serbian meme. Monica, tighten your teeth, referring to Monica Lewinsky, who you may remember from earlier talks. And
in other words, snap.
Yeah. And Bill come katsepano, as they say in Greek. Sit on top. Do you want to clue people in as to why it all happened because it started with the stuff in Kosovo? And we're going to get into some Kosovo memes and a meme that's about Kosovo, like a person.
You're talking about a completely illegal relationship between Mr. Clinton, the guy who didn't have sex with that woman, and Monica Lewinsky, who also did not have sex with that guy, I guess.
Yeah, no, but I was actually, that I don't really care about. I was actually referring to, do you want to clue people in as to what was going on in Serbia at the time and why?
Oh, right. I mean, seriously, yeah. Well, it started in 1996 officially. There were, of course, some unrest. There was some unrest in the late 1980s in Yugoslavia at the time, but the Yugoslav army took care of that pretty quickly. However, as soon as the Soviet Union collapsed, it was open season for anyone who wasn't, who was not aligned to the West. At the time, and Serbia was, I guess, the first dish on the plate, unfortunately. And what they did in 1996, when the wars in Croatia and Bosnia were completed, thanks to America's and NATO's aggression once again. What they did is they decided to fan up the unrest in Kosovo and essentially created what was known as the Kosovo Liberation Army, which was this Islamic radical slash narco terrorist organization that started attacking Serbian, police officers and security forces in general, and also Serbian civilians. And this went for about 2 years until the Serbian military had enough and decided to obliterate them, all of them. And I'm not talking about the Albanian population. I'm talking about the KLA, the terrorist organization that even the U.S. held as a terrorist organization on their own list until 1998. So, it's very similar to what happened in Syria, essentially, because the USF, or USAF if you want, essentially became the ISIS Air Force. And in Kosovo, they became the Air Force for the KLA, which they didn't have until 1999. So on the 24th of March, 1999, the U.S. launched, let's say, air campaign, as they say, essentially the bombing campaign on Yugoslavia in support of this terrorist, narco-terrorist KLA, which was attacking, Serbs, which was kidnapping them and, doing certain things with their organs, which I can't really talk about because it's going to get me banned.
People who are watching this on YouTube, go type Yellow House Kosovo. Type of thing.
To get a better understanding of what they were really doing. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because they were also dealing these legal substances.
This is a classic meme. Sorry to interrupt. I have to interrupt. This is a classic meme from like back in the day. I remember this on like my Windows, like what was it, 311? Windows 311 at the time. 98 maybe. What was before 98? Because it was Windows 99 for us. Ha 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 ha. There was also that meme. You remember that meme? Because people, during the bombing, people taped up their windows so that, like, shards of glass wouldn't fly everywhere. So the Windows 99 in Serbia is like a meme. Ha 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 ha. So anyway, this is probably Windows 98. By deduction. Sorry to interrupt you. I just had to throw that in there because it's like a classic meme. Go on. You were telling us how
I was talking
air
about
support.
the perfectly legal activities of the KLA in Kosovo, which also includes the selling of this legal white powder substance that you can find in every drugstore.
Zelensky office in every Zelensky office.
And supermarkets everywhere. So, I think it's very kids friendly, I guess. Jokes aside, you can imagine what I'm talking about, and they've made a fortune on this. And all they had to do was give Kosovo to NATO and these Western powers, which then took whatever they wanted, especially various mineral, let's say, or natural resources that, Kosovo is very known for, very well known for. And they were given a free hand, to turn Kosovo into a narco-terrorist hub, essentially, because I don't know how else to define it, even, in terms of sarcasm, that essentially operated one of the largest, if not the largest, drug trafficking operation in the world, which I don't think nobody has been able to surpass ever since. So it's rather interesting, really, how they did this. So what they did, they supported the worst possible people. They supported a combination of narco cartels and ISIS. So if you really want to, see who the worst possible combination in terms of criminals activities and, terrorism is, go Google KLA, the Freedom Fighters.
It was after the 90s, which was 25 years ago, that I learned that any liberation army, quote unquote, especially when it's Western backed, is highly suspicious. You want to decipher this meme for our non-Serbian viewers? This is forwarded via NKMT, as in the National Meme Coordination Body, from Ducktoons Historia. But the point is, he says, Mustache, do you want to send the message to the general staff? And this guy says, Amagde Romane Oggi stop Soske Magle, and so on. He says basically stuff in Romani. and the NATO
Right.
guy is going, what's going on? So do you want to explain what was going on
Right.
here?
So what was going on? NATO hired a lot of Croatians and people from Bosnia, who, of course, speak the same language, and they were listening into our comms.
You
and
mean
trying to
Serbian?
decide.
You mean Serbian? Yeah. Let's get the comments
Right.
going.
Right. Yeah. Essentially, I mean, I also call it Serbian. I was just trying to, explain it. So the point is, like, they were listening into our comms, and in that way, they were able to determine and triangulate our positions, and then send missiles and bombs to those positions. And of course, what our soldiers came up with is to use the Romani language, which is not very well known, I guess, because the Romani people don't have like a nation state, so their language is not really recognized as a country language, or a state language. It is, of course, recognized as a minority language in Serbia and several other countries. But the point is, we're using this to guide our artillery and to relay this information between various artillery units. And the most ironic part about this is that the Serbian commanders were actually inspired by the U.S. Army and the U.S. Navy in the Pacific, during World War II, because what happened at the time is that the U.S. used Navajo, Navajo natives, to do the same against the Japanese, who were not able or unable to understand Navajo. Obviously, I mean, who understands Navajo except the people who actually speak it, which is the natives in the United States. So
it was genius. I only learned about this. I only learned about this like a couple of years ago. I had no idea at the time. But that was genius. Now let's get back to the current times and the walking meme that I promised. This fucking clown. Can I say? I can probably say it. It's a comedy show.
Right.
This fucking clown needs to be hospitalized. Like, he needs to go into a mental asylum. At least.
Oh, this is not even the worst thing he did. He actually, because there's a monument to a little girl who was like 2.5, 3 years old when a NATO missile killed her in her apartment in 1999. And there's actually a monument in Belgrade to her, and he took a selfie in front of it, calling for Serbia to not forgive but to forget about what NATO did to us 25 years ago. And I'm not pro violence or anything, but he's extremely lucky I wasn't there, because you'll never be able to.
I think he needs to be escorted to a mental asylum.
I'm just talking for his own good, just to talk to some psychiatrists.
Because he could get himself into real trouble, especially if he visits Montenegro again, from what I heard. There's a dentist waiting for him. His name is Dr. Martin.
Help the dentist to help the guy, with all his teeth. So
Doc Martin is waiting for him in Montenegro, from what I heard on Twitter. We've got one more meme and one more article. Should we do the article or the meme?
Whatever you choose.
Okay.
Let's do the meme.
Okay, then it's not whatever I choose.
Well, I thought you would choose the meme, so I just get.
We've seen that there are still many men alive in Kiev. Sorry, we're gonna fix that. Mobilization in Ukraine is proceeding as planned. That's
right.
That's all we can say about that. Why are NATO and fans of nuts terrified of Russia's Zircon hypersonic missile? Is it like a nut allergy thing?
Yeah. I think it has to do with allergies, which can be very deadly, actually. So
natural causes.
Right, natural causes. The interesting thing about this, it is connected to the Crocus City Hall attack, terrorist attack. The Zircon is not the central point of my article in this case. It's about its speed and the way it can be used. You see, like, Zircon is Mach 9, which is around 11,000 kilometers per hour. I forgot the number in the miles. I don't use them. I use the metric system like everyone else. all other countries around the world.
Who's not imperialist, as I like to say. Everybody who's not imperialist uses the metric system.
Uses the metric system. Either way, I actually calculated, and some of my colleagues helped me, obviously, the Zircon missile would need from Crimea to certain cities in Ukraine, including Lvov and Odessa and Kiev and Dnipropetrovsk and Kharkov and so on. And it's anywhere between 1 and 5 minutes. Actually, in case of Odessa, it's even less. It's around 50 seconds. So, the Russians are working now together. I mean, they've essentially, integrated a lot of their command system and command structure. So now you have the SVR and the GRU, which are the Russian military intelligence services and let's say outside or let's say international or I suppose like outside of Russia intelligence, essentially. That's what the SVR does. I'm not really sure how to even translate their acronyms.
Foreign. I think it's foreign.
Exactly. Yeah, I forgot the word. The Foreign Intelligence Service. So what they're doing is they're determining where the SBU and NATO personnel are, and then they send the Zircon hypersonic missile. So even in the best case scenario, even if you detect the launch immediately and you're in Odessa, in a building in Odessa, you have about 50 seconds to leave the building, like everyone in the building. So you can imagine how, let's say, motivating that is for the guys.
How it contributes to natural death among Polish generals.
Right. And decarbonization, I guess.
Decarbonization.
I mean, it's interesting. It takes them around 3 minutes, and if the NATO personnel and the SBU guys and the GOR guys are in Kiev, they have around 3 minutes and 20 seconds. That gives you enough time to get to I don't know, if it's a 20-story building, maybe to the 10th, I guess, if you're really, really fast. Or maybe there are faster ways you can jump, I guess. That's the fastest way. And, you actually have higher chances.
The only way to beat a Zircon is to bite the bullet yourself, basically, is what you're saying.
Exactly. And, no matter how small the chances are of your survival, they're still, a lot bigger than, being hit by a missile that goes 11,000 kilometers per hour and has 300 kilogram warhead. So, the interesting thing is, recently there was this Polish general who died suddenly, I guess.
Different kind of died suddenly.
Right. I guess people will know what I'm talking about. And the most interesting thing for me, because the Russians are using the Zircon missile more often now than before, I guess we're going to see a lot of news of sudden deaths of NATO personnel, falling off a helicopter, freak accidents during skiing, choking on a croissant, or maybe drinking coffee that's too hot and resulting in the throat swelling and the person suffocating. All of these could happen and will probably happen a lot more often in the future, because of these Zircon missiles.
What can I say? Zircon. Basically, yes. I lied earlier, turns out, because this is a comedy show, so it was like a setup. There was only one meme and 2 articles. Foreign mercenaries fighting for Kiev regime forces should leave immediately. Why?
Right. Because they have a 40% kill ratio. And I'm not talking about killing the enemy, but actually dying ratio. That would be a better term, I guess. So far, the Russian Ministry of Defense claims that of over almost 13,500 who have been recruited or who actually joined the FU, 42% have been neutralized, or around 6,000 have been neutralized so far. So I guess this is a very good message, to all these mercenaries and volunteers. just get the hell out of there if you want to see your family again or whoever you have, dogs, cats, whatever. So, I also mentioned a recent video by the guy, I'm pretty sure a lot of people know him, Garand Thumb, the guy who deals with weapons, small arms primarily. He actually hosted two guys. Yeah. You probably saw that yourself. He hosted two guys, one American, one British, who are allegedly in Ukraine as volunteers. And, if you manage to go around all the propaganda they're saying, there were some interesting things they said. And one of the most interesting things they said was the usage of lasers to blind, enemy snipers and other guys who were using advanced optics. So, and then I remembered back in 2021, the Russians have actually deployed a system that's called Sosna N, which is essentially like a box with laser projectors. It's a multi-role
multi-frequency,
Right. And what it actually does, it detects where your scope, and then relays this information to an artillery unit or close-by sniper team, and then you get visited by the shells from the sniper because it's too big. So the point is, you can get killed by fucking robots, in Ukraine, who use lasers to point your, location. And on top of that, it can use a laser beam to go straight through the scope and blind you. So, do you really want this to happen to you? And it's not, it's automated. A human doesn't need to control it. You can just, program the thing and leave it be. You just have to essentially conceal the thing, camouflage it properly in order not to have it destroyed by the enemy. But still, even if it blinds five guys and relays their position to artillery or sniper units, it has done its job. Because you can build a new thing, but you can't build a new human that is going to go and fight for the AFU in Ukraine.
Yeah, command and conquer generals. You said robots, and you reminded me that I forgot to share this. The links. So the Russians made a UAV that's a robot that's like a quad. What do you have to say about the coming drone wars, Drago?
In the future, because I'm pretty sure what we're going to see is a massive drop in the interest of serving in the military, because people don't want to die 100%, because that's what's going to happen. It's going to be 100% certainty that you're going to die in the modern battlefield because you will be detected. You can't conceal your thermal signature completely. You have to breathe. You have to be warm, right? So all the things that you do essentially make you a target because you will relay some kind of, signal or anything else, something that's going to, give up your position, and you're dead. You're going to have maybe 50 seconds to change position, and nobody can live like that. Whether it's the front line or whatever, nobody can survive that I guess for more than a few weeks or maybe a few months. And the thing is, artillery has never been this deadly. Never in the history of human warfare has artillery been as deadly as it is now because of all the ISR and drones that are constantly, looking for enemies and conducting reconnaissance and surveillance and all these other kinds of stuff that make you a target 100%. And I think the only solution to fight wars in the future, at least high-tech wars, would be to employ more and more drones. It doesn't mean that the human factor in the war is going to be removed completely. That's obviously not going to happen. But we will see a diminishing role of infantry in any future combat, I guess.
I want to thank you, Drago, for coming on. I want to thank everybody who's stuck around so far, or
so long or so close to the end. I don't know. I forgot how to speak. English is not my first language, nor do I claim that I know it. This is a comedy show. Everybody who is here probably figured that out by now. This is the first Serbian meme, apparently. And that will be all for today. Drago, anything you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, people should check the Yellow House in Kosovo and some other, things and goodies we've mentioned. If you don't believe what we're saying, just, do your own research, I guess.
Oh, and, you saw the address where that clown is available on X. You can drop him a message. Let him know how you feel.
I will send him all my love, man.
All right. I'm going to play some music. Everybody, thank you again. Buy me a coffee. Links for Drago in the description as well. See you later.